This is John Maynard Keynes. He was a really important economist. And in 1930, he made a really bold prediction about the future of work. He said that 100 years later, by 2030, we'd be working 15 hours a week. There's still time, but it's not looking good. So what gives? Well, he wasn't delusional. When he made that prediction, working hours were in steep decline, thanks to new technologies that were making workers more productive and union efforts that were shrinking the work week. But then, after World War II, the shrinking work week just kind of stopped shrinking. I mean, it kept going down a little bit, but it averaged out around 40 hours a week, which we still have today. So this got me wondering, what happened? Why do we still work so much? Before we get to the answer, we should probably talk about something.
A wave of workers' strikes sweeping across America.
Thousands have hit picket lines in several states amid a nationwide labor shortage.
Strikes flare all across the United States.
You may have also seen this guy talking about it. This is Anthony Klotz, and he coined a term that you've been hearing everywhere.
The Great Resignation.
The Great Resignation.
The Great Resignation.
The Great Resignation.
Because he saw it coming. But also, a lot of people have been rethinking the place of work in their lives.
Individuals reflected on work and whether it was really giving them the meaning and the happiness that they wanted.
And for a lot of people, the answer was just no. There's a really popular subreddit that illustrates this.
There's not a lot more at this point that has mass appeal than saying, like, I hate my job, or I hate my boss, or I hate work.
Doreen is one of the moderators of the Antiwork subreddit.
It's a heavily anti-capitalist, or at least critical of capitalist philosophy, where people are kind of like calling into question our dedication to work or our over-dedication to work.
Some of them call for a 4-day work week and higher wages, just a gentler version of capitalism. But others, like Doreen, are a little more radical and want to abolish work altogether. You may be wondering, how would society even function without work? This is a frequently asked question, so I'll just read what the subreddit says. We're not against effort, labor, or being productive. We're against jobs as they are structured under capitalism.
It's anti the coercive part of work where you are forced to do a job that you don't like for wages that aren't sufficient with people that don't even respect you, right? Especially the bosses.
When I was researching this film, I came across this chart. This graph basically illustrates income inequality and where it came from in the United States. And I called up economist Sylvia Allegretto to help me understand it.
Yeah, this is a very interesting concept and a long-term trend that should be understood.
One line on this graph is the growth in worker productivity.
That's how much income is being generated economy-wide per hour of work.
And it just has kept going up. The other line is compensation for the typical worker.
Not the highest income workers, but kind of the bottom 80%.
See how they diverge here? Economists call this the productivity pay gap.
Since 1979, productivity has increased about 3.5 times that of worker pay. So the gains of that increase in productivity since 1979 went disproportionately to those that are the wealthiest amongst us, the top 10%, and even more so the top 1%. So when you look at the top 1%, and you can just Google it, the income share of the top 1%, it follows that graph. Federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. It has not changed since 2009. We've gone the longest time ever in the history of the minimum wage since 1938 of not having an increase.
Meaningful and lasting change might require a deeper shift in how we think about work. I'm talking about hustle culture. Hustle culture pushes workers to go above and beyond the 9 to 5. And overworking to the point of exhaustion is often encouraged and even rewarded. Hustle culture is something Keynes didn't foresee, and it might be one reason that his prediction hasn't come true. So let's turn back to that question we started with. Why are we still working so much? There's like so much that I want to dig into, but runtime and so on. I called up a work historian, Benjamin Honeycutt, to see if he could help me find the answer.
I think one of the answers is certainly consumerism.
Consumerism. As productivity grew through the 20th century, we had a choice: reduce working hours, or buy and produce more stuff and keep working just as much. It's pretty clear what we chose.
The second reason that I argue is government policy designed to create jobs, to create work.
Yeah,
I probably only do about 15 minutes of real, actual work.
But on top of that, a bigger cultural shift took place.
Our ideas about work has changed. Work, certainly in the 19th century and well into the 20th century, was a means to an end.
And in the past 100 years or so, work has become an end in itself. So instead of working to live, more people are living to work.